Meet Chris Zakowski, the go-to expert for game devs, both solo and teams, dreaming of hitting the Steam front page. In this episode, Chris gets super deep on the ultimate question. How do you rack up hundreds of thousands of wish lists before you launch your game without a following? And honestly, do you even need to do this? Do you need 100,000 wish lists? Do you need a viral game? After all, with hundreds of thousands of wish lists, this is what I think, that's your ticket to hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit, right? We dive deep into this, and honestly, we disagree on several points. We also dive into his proven wishlist building tactics, Steam metrics that matter and Steam metrics that don't. We talk about avoiding the lukewarm trap, the critical role of demos, optimal demo launch timing, and why you don't need as many wish lists as you might think to go full-time indie with zero experience. We dig deep into the data in this episode. And by the way, if you want to dig deep and track the data about your own game, its bugs and errors, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Sentry. If you're currently working on a project, and especially if you're planning on releasing it, having a way to track errors and crashes is essential. Sentry makes this very easy by offering real-time crash reporting for real gameplay across all platforms. Monitoring errors and crashes can optimize your workflow by a ton in the development phase. But even more important is that Sentry supports real-time error and crash reporting even after you've deployed your game, allowing you to catch all errors your players might be running into. Sentry supports almost every language and framework out there, including, of course, Unity, Unreal, and Godot, as well as all consoles like Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. It's extremely easy to get started, and they even offer a completely free tier. So if you're interested in streamlining your debugging workflow for development and release builds, I definitely recommend you check out their Unity SDK by simply clicking the link in the description. You know, you're the marketing expert here. You're the guy who basically your thing is you dig into data and you dig into Steam data and you help developers figure out how to properly market and launch their games. And so my first question for you is, I wanted to do a little thought experiment with you, and I was curious if you wanted to do this. Basically, let's talk about execution as it pertains to Steam, how to execute properly. So the question I think a lot of people are asking is they're thinking, okay, let's pretend I'm going to make a good game. I mean, that's right off the bat, that's already a pretty difficult thing to accomplish.
Let's pretend. Yep.
Yes, okay. Let's pretend. Right. So the question is, let's pretend people in the audience listening now have a decent game. It's a good, solid game. It's not the greatest, it's solid. The question is, how do you get 100,000 wish lists as a nobody? So they don't have a big email list like Chris. They don't have a big email list or YouTube following or whatever like Thomas and Chris. What is like the step-by-step process that you would take? Like if you had to guide somebody or you had to do it yourself, how would you get 100,000 wish lists? Which, by the way, for people listening, and then I'll let you riff here, the reason this is important is because if we can get a 10 to 20% conversion rate, and we sell a $10 game, that's a lot of money, right? Now, the assumption is 10% to 20% conversion rate, which I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But go, like what would you do if you wanted to get 100,000 wish lists as a nobody?
Yeah. So you're following, people always say that on Reddit too, like, I have no following. Like, it doesn't, following is not required. It really is not required. I don't know what they mean by following exactly, like YouTube and stuff. I think because a lot of people who ask that are watching YouTubers. Mm-hmm. And so they always assume like YouTuber has big following, so that is not necessary, folks. Not at all to have a big following, because you're paying Steam to do that following for you, to boost you beyond a following. So I don't think following is important. Let's just put that away. Two is I don't think money's important. Like, I mean, to make the game, yes, but most of the stuff I'm going to say doesn't cost any money. So here's the thing: is $100,000 is not, or 100,000 wish list is not required either. But I'll keep going. I'll keep pretending you want to have 100,000.
Well, I would love to know why. I mean, if you want to get to that, why that doesn't matter.
I think you just need like 30,000. I think that's it. So
for what?
30,000 wish list just to do decent. So
okay,
after a certain point with Steam, here's the deal. And you guys have to stop thinking like direct response marketing, where it's like, if I get 100,000 people on my email list, I know they converted this much. That is not how Steam works. So Steam, the way Steam works is they give your game a certain amount of visibility, and if you do well with that visibility, they keep giving you more. And once you get above, 100,000 is good. I'll tell you there are some things that you can get out of that you can't get at the lower tiers, like 30,000. But for the most part, I think 30,000 is sufficient to get you within that test area that Valve tests with Steam to see if your game does well. And then once you get past that, then it goes wild. It's not, we do this and then this and then this, like a funnel, a pure funnel. It really is like, we're going to test your game for this much and see how many sales you get. And if you sell enough, we'll keep promoting you. That is what you all have to figure out. That's the first thing. Okay. So do you want me to keep going? I'll go down the 1,000 route, or
can I ask a question really quick before you keep going? Is that kind of like the YouTube algorithm? Like, it's like get people in the door, like getting some people in the door is all you really need to do. Then what matters is you got to have a solid game with retention.
Exactly.
Is that it?
Like,
okay.
I guess YouTube, like you have to, I just did it recently, got qualified, or what do they call it? Get to 1,000 subscribers and
you can start getting terrible ad revenue. Yeah.
Yeah. It's stupid. Don't become YouTubers, folks. YouTube sucks, everybody. Anyway, so what I mean is you get that minimum amount, whatever it is, qualified, or 30,000, and then you're kind of in the running, is what I say. You could even do 10,000 to 20,000 wish list, but it is not a direct linear, like, oh, you're going to convert at 10% or 20%. Like, if you can juice the numbers up to 100,000, but if your game's not delivering on the promise, you're going to convert at like 1 to 5%. So there's no magic. This is what Wishlists convert at. And Valve will even tell you. And I've been in meetings with Valve, like in person. They're like, we don't know how well Wishlists are going to convert. We just don't.
What about this? In terms of the metrics, because you're saying like, okay, but your game needs to perform well. Does that mean that it's got really good reviews? Does that mean that it's selling well relative to what? Like, how do you know it's performing well?
Folks, forget review count. Like, in other words, forget review positivity.
Right.
That's the big thing, is because people are
really?
Like, we're like 75, we're like 98% positive, and we have 100 reviews and nobody's else buying it. It doesn't matter. Positivity doesn't matter. As long as you're a mixed or above in the Steam algorithm, we're just talking Steam algorithm, it doesn't matter. The thing that Valve looks at, the only metric it cares about, it's super simple. How many dollars did you earn? Not percent conversion, nothing like that. Raw dollars, how much did you earn? That's all they care about when you launch your game.
Now, this is a relative number, right? So let's say that certain games are just making way more money in your genre or in your niche. Is that what we're looking at here? We're looking at not just some arbitrary number. Yay, I made $1,000. It's more like, no, how are you performing relative to the other games in your niche? Is that kind of what it is?
Not really. It's universal, because people always ask me like VR, folks. I'm sorry if you're making a VR game. I'm sorry. VR games are just not. They don't sell on Steam. They just don't. And people always VR. I always say VR games don't sell. And then I always get an email from a couple of VR people. They're like, but what about relative to other VR games? I'm like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Valve only. The algorithm is so simple. Are you making us money? Because that real estate that Steam puts up on the front page of Steam, if your game's not converting well, that is a spot that could be taken up by somebody else who is doing better than you.
I guess that's what I mean by relative, though, Chris, is like you are competing with other games at the end of the day.
You are.
Right. So it's relative to other games. So if it's not just like, you have, remember you were talking about YouTube subscribers and how YouTube's like, yay, you can make ad revenue now. It seems arbitrary. 1,000, if you get 1,000 followers, then suddenly you get promoted or paid by YouTube. With Steam, it's not some arbitrary, you made $1,000, therefore we're going to promote it more. It's more like you're doing better than this person, so therefore we'll push it more.
I think so. Yeah, you could kind of say that. I mean, the only thing is there's so many games out there. It's not, I don't know. I don't know that deep. Like, in other words, like, kind of what I say is like, if you can make about $150,000 gross pre-Steam cut revenue in the first 6 months, you've got something to play with. You got something that Steam will
That's good.
We talked last time. Re-listen to our last time. I talked about real Steam. If you're getting about 150,000 gross revenue pre-Steam cut in about 6 months, you're in a good spot. Like you can work with it. That's the minimum bar I'd say, folks. Is just try and get into that, and then everything else will happen.
Okay.
So
good.
I'm dodging the question. Should we just go in and talk about how to get to 100,000?
Well, it's okay to dodge the question or say like
I'm not going to dodge it.
Well, you didn't. You said you didn't know. Yeah, exactly. And like what I'm trying to figure out here is I'm thinking about myself. Honestly, I'm thinking, okay, I've got almost.
I knew that. I knew this was a Twisted Tower question. Okay.
Yeah, it's just my way of getting a consultation from you for free.
I knew that going into this call.
Yeah. No. I'm just sitting here thinking like, okay, I've got 100,000 wish lists. We're almost there. Actually, we're not there yet. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean in terms of performance? And in my head, I'm like, well, I need an overwhelmingly positive score because I've heard that matters. And then you hear that it doesn't matter, you know? And then you hear, well, if you make this amount of money, then you're good to go and you're rock solid. It's hard though, because it's like some people, they dream of making $100,000 on their game. And some people dream of making $2 million on their game relative to like, you know, how many games you've released and where you are in your career. And so when you say if your game makes $150,000, you've got something to work with. In my head, I'm like, well, what does that mean exactly? You know, does that mean you've got a gangbusters game on your hands, or does that mean you're like better than most? You know? No,
for you. Okay, so here's what's going to happen with you and probably your publisher. Good work. This is no small task to get almost up to where you are. So good work.
Thank you.
Here's what's going to happen is, and if your publisher's good, which I assume they are, you are going to push Valve in like the 2 weeks before you're leading in, and you're going to be like, hey, can we get a pop-up? Because right around 100,000 is when you get the pop-up. So the pop-up is when you start Steam, there's a little pop-up, like everybody close Steam and then start it up again, and then there'll be this pop-up, not the website, the physical one.
No, I got you. And
there'll be a pop-up. Typically those games, if it's a new release, right around 100,000, but they don't give it right away. This is the thing. This is what I'm saying. Nobody knows. So I've worked with games that have done close to numbers like you, and they reach out to Valve and they go, can we get a pop-up? And Valve says, they'll give this really long paragraph answer, multiple paragraph answer, and they'll be like, but it basically comes down to, we're going to see if you've got them. You've got, you know, like if those wish lists are actually good wish lists. Because this is what I'm saying. Valve doesn't know. Valve doesn't actually know if it's going to be converting. They don't know. And so what they do is they test your game, and they're like, we're going to put it out there and see how much you convert. And what I mean, again, stop. Don't overinterpret when I say convert. They just want to see if you make money. Okay. They have some magic number. I don't know what it is. But I've seen lots of games.
So there is a number. Yeah.
There's no, I don't know what it is. And if I try and predict it, I'll get it wrong, and then people will yell at me. But I've seen games in your kind of situation. They have 100,000. They're going in pretty hot, and Valve's like, "Hold on, let's see." And then 4 hours later, and Valve sent the email that was like, "We'll see." And so they waited 4 hours, no pop up, and then Valve was like, saw the numbers come in good, and they're like, oh, "Okay, good." And then they got the pop up, and then it happened. Because what Valve is looking at is if your servers hold up, there's no like. The game doesn't start if you have an AMD chip or something. They're trying to see if there's no mega bugs. They want to see if it's converting well, because that's very valuable real estate. And so they don't want to give this front page featuring to a game that's like slobbering on itself and can't even stand up. And so they don't know. They're like, yes, you got 100,000, but that's not a guarantee to Valve even. So they're like, well, let's see what happens. And then, but if they see the numbers convert, then they slam on it, and then you'll be front page. Okay, and so here's the thing, and this is when we talk about positive and overwhelmingly positive and what people say. You can be, here's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is apathy. You know, they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's contempt or something, or apathy. That's why most games fail, is they're just like, people are like, I don't know. I'm just not going to buy it. I'll wait. That is death for most games. It's not that the game is bad. It's not that there's something terrible with the game. It's just people are like, And so you have to make what Valve is through a whole bunch of crazy algorithms, what they're incentivizing, and I'm not saying incentivizing in a bad way. They're just saying like, we're only looking for games that have the energy where people will buy the game just like day one. They just want to buy it. Sure. And some games have it and some games don't. And so this is where a lot of people are like, oh, I have 150 reviews and they're all positive, 100% positivity, but nobody's buying it because the only people who bought it and gave that 100 awesome thumbs up review are people super invested for whatever reason in the game. And everybody else is like, they don't hate it. If somebody played it and they're like, yeah, it's good enough, and they never left a review, or people are just apathetic to the game and they never bought it in the first place. And so they've got a low review. The number of purchases is low. The number of people who left a review is low, but those who did are 100% positive. So that will trip you up and make you think, oh my God, I did that. Valve does not care about review count. They don't care about like how positive a review is.
The quality of the reviews.
It's just pure money.
Right. So three practical things for people listening right now on the development side. If people want to avoid a lukewarm game, because like you said, the goal is to be hot or cold, not lukewarm. For people who are curious, how do I do that? Well, I would say...
You're asking a dirty marketer. It's art, man. It's art.
That's right.
It's like,
so this is the first point.
Marketer.
That's right. The first point I would say as an artist is, number one, I had a friend of mine the other day ask me, should I use AI to help me with some project they're working on? And he was like, the art that it's creating is just amazing. And I said, well, sure. But like, if all art is amazing and it all looks like that, then it's not amazing. It's just lukewarm. Everyone's doing it. And you'll find that in 5 years that your really cool art that you put in your game that you thought was special, suddenly everybody else has it in their game too. And you're wondering what happened. And it's like, well, you're not some genius for doing an AI prompt. Thousands of other game developers know how to do it too. So that's my first thing, is stay away from AI if you want it to be special. If you want it to be special. That's just me. I'm not saying you would necessarily agree with that. But number two,
or do you want me to commentate on that?
I will say, let me say my number two here is
go for it.
Publishers are great. Publishers are great, but publishers can be fear driven. And when they're fear driven or they're profit driven and they're trying to like 10x as opposed to 3x, which indies don't think that way. They're like, I would love to make 2x. But a lot of publishers are like, we got a 10x. When publishers are fear-driven, what happens is you find that so many decisions start coming down the pipeline that you start making stupid decisions for your game that turn it into a gray, boring mess. So that's number two. And number three, stop asking social media what they think about your animated GIFs and your videos and your footage and your loop and your hook and your character. I've done this, by the way. I've done it all. Stop polling your audience because they don't know what you know as an artist. And you're also going to average everybody out. And the average is exactly that. It's going to be average. So those are my three things. So do you have any thoughts on that really quick?
Yeah, and this kind of goes to, and it's not just average, but I think it's also like engines nowadays are so good and your game can look amazing that this is also where people are like, oh, it's wishlist inflation and stuff like that, where your game in screenshots and video can look fantastic, but the game is not fun. And so it used to be back in the AAA days and consoles, it was like whatever the best looking game, the AAAs were always the best looking games. And so they did very well. And so people, but like a duckling that attached to the first thing they saw, we indies, when we were growing up, we attached to the best looking game is the best thing. So a lot of indies are like, we've got to make the best looking game, but they forgot your game has to be fun. And I've seen this so many times where a game is beautiful. It's using Unreal. A lot of those body cam games where the body cam footage stuff, they look really cool. But when you play them, you're like, blah. And it's not even just AI. I just mean like in general, like anything, like even if you made their own assets and it looks really cool, but the game is not fun and it doesn't have a good loop and it doesn't engage people to keep playing more and more. And I don't mean in sleazy, like pay to win ways. I just mean like, do I still want to keep playing this game? If it doesn't have the fun, it is not going to do well. And it has nothing to do with graphics. I mean, it has everything to do with graphics, but when you're in the pre-release stage, really good graphics can mask a problem. And that's where I see a lot of people who get 100,000 wishlists because their graphics are amazing. And then they launch and people see really good graphics. So they fill in like, oh, I bet everything is going to happen with this game that's in my dreams because this game looks amazing. And when then they play it, they see the beginning and then they're like, oh, after that, behind that, it was nothing. There was nothing to that game behind that. And so the word gets out very fast for your game. This is why you don't see it. Word gets out in the game and they're like, it's not that good. It's kind of all just, you saw everything in the screenshots and then there's nothing else to it. That's what I see happens all the time.
Yeah, I heard Julian, I did a podcast with Julian Ball. He's making a game called Lens Island. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that podcast is launching just before this one launches. And he said, he basically just said, it's better to just have proper expectations. Like, don't try and be the greatest marketer. You need to be equally a good marketer and equally delivering on the promise of the marketing. And if that means that you bring the polish of the marketing down a peg to match the actual game's quality, you're better off for it, because and you can also anchor with price, right? You can just go, well, look, it's going to be $10. You're not going to, maybe you make it super polished, but you say, look, the price is $10. So hopefully that gives people an idea of like what the quality of the game is, right?
Yeah. And I think the good thing about, and we can talk about it, I think demos are like the best way to do marketing
1000%.
Because there's no lying behind it. Because it's like, here's the game, take it or leave it, try it. Yep. If you don't like it, let me know.
That's why for me, Chris, and then we'll move on to whether 30,000 or 100,000, but because I know we need to get to that. But for me, man, when I launched the Twisted Tower demo in February with NextFest, I think I told my publisher, I said, this is more terrifying than a real launch. And the reason why for me was we're 3 years into development, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on this game. And now 3 years later, we're doing a demo. And the demo is like, basically, it's like the proof of concept. And so I don't know if I'm going to be as terrified as I was or will be when I launch the full game, because that demo, like I said, it's just this, if it doesn't work, it won't, right? I mean, maybe you can clean it up and try and make it better. But like, if the core of the game, which is in the demo, doesn't work, I don't know. Is that a point where you say, I'm not going to finish this thing,
Yeah. I think devs spend way too long working on their games. This isn't a scientific thing, but I have a feeling the universe knows whether your game has it or not within like the first month or two. Like you put it out there. If you get something out, it's the combination of the graphics, the core concept, the core loop, the genre, that melding, because that's what a game is, really, just all that. If you meld those together and put it up, and if nobody likes it in a month, it's not like, oh man, if I just polish up the middle boss on the third level, that's going to turn things around. Right. It doesn't. It's either got it or not, and it very fast. Very fast.
The trouble with that, though, my little devil's advocate here comes from none other than Ken Levine himself, which when he was on the podcast, he said, and maybe this is an outlier situation and it doesn't necessarily disprove what both of you and I are saying. He said that Bioshock sucked until the last week of development, or 2 weeks. I think it was the last 2 months of development. He said nobody understood it and they didn't get it. And then all they had to do was change the first 15 minutes of the game and then it all clicked. So I don't know if that's an outlier situation.
I don't like listening to very famous people who made very famous games, because that's not the average. If I remember the thing that the first time I heard about Bioshock, and I don't remember when that was in the time frame, and I don't remember where it was when I don't know behind the scenes like how developed there, but I remember when they did that live demo with Ken Levine narrating, and he was like, this is a big daddy and there's a little sister, and you not everything kills you right away. You can like interact with them, and I can punch this guy, and look at this water effect. Look at this water shader. Yep. It was that demo that sold it to the world.
Right.
And I don't remember when all that happened. And I remember
it may have happened, months prior to that.
When that demo, that's what I mean by like, at that point, the world knew this game was amazing. And I think they delivered on that. Now, whether it was, we shifted around, it wasn't until the last month that it actually all came together, who knows? But I think that concept of, here's this giant big daddy and you can just walk up to him and it's okay, and look at this water, that's what sold it. And they knew as soon as they showed that, everybody was like, yes.
Yeah. And I think I remember what you're talking about. I think I was like 13, but the same vibes I'm getting with We Harvest Shadows. I'm just like, yeah, we're good. Like David's got it. And even if he doesn't execute perfectly, he's still got it. You know what I mean? It's just that something. It has that something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I can't tell you if you're like, well, Chris, do I have it or not? I don't know. I'm a filthy marketer. Ask a poet. Ask an artist or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just
your job is
something.
to sell turds, basically. It's how do I get like how can I market? What do they say to salesmen? Sell this pen, right? How do you sell a pen?
Like this. My job is not that. My job is like, oh, you've got something. It's here. Here's all. This is the map to get you to the exit. Like you have it, and this is why I don't consult. Like I don't do one-on-one consulting. I mean, I do it for a podcast for you, Thomas.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I can't. And even a PR company, this is where a lot of devs hate PR and they say, oh, it doesn't work, is they have a turd and you can't do it. You can't sell it. And that's the thing is like, I tell most devs, like, that's why I say, you know it within a month or two. If you know it, I can give you a plan. I know how to get you, make sure you hit all the right milestones, marketing-wise, to get this game to launch. Yeah, I can tell you what to do. And I can tell you post-launch, if you have good sales, what to do, because that's important. You can't sell games. People are too smart on Steam. They know if your game sucks, there's nothing you can do. You can't fake it. It either has it or it doesn't.
Okay. So that sort of breaks down the sort of initial thing we said earlier, which was, okay, let's assume we have the it factor. We've got something. Now let's talk about, this is great because it's like going all over the place, and that's what I love about it. I love this podcast because that's usually what happens. But let's get back to the 30,000 versus 100,000, right? I'll say this. I was talking to Gavin, creator of Choo Choo Charles, and he and I sort of agreed like 100,000 was a good goal for us as developers. This is going to sound really proud, and I promise I'm not trying to, but this is my third game. And also Gavin has really high standards. Obviously he made Choo Choo Charles, and he's just got high standards. That's the number that I always aim for lately, is 100,000 to 150,000. But I want to hear your thought process on like, is that true for most devs? Should they aim for that, or should they aim for something lower? Not because their game sucks, but because like practically 30,000 will be just fine.
Yeah, 30,000 will be just fine for most games. So, because here's what happens. There's only so much promotion Steam can do. Yes, the wishlist conversion, and this is why people spend too much thinking about conversion. Well, if I have 10% and this or that. So the way Steam works is they just give you enough, and then they see if it does well. Like, and one of the big things, and everybody look, if you launched a game, look back at your previous game. Now, Thomas, your last couple of games were many, like a decade ago or something. Yeah. It's more now. If you look at the 2-week period when you actually make your game for sale, 50% of your traffic will come from this thing called the Discovery Queue. Mm-hmm. And Discovery Queue is Thunderdome. It's where they just drop your game they show your game randomly to people. And if people click buy or wishlist, I don't know what the metrics are, what they're looking at. It's some machine learning algorithm. But if enough people do the right thing, Valve will keep showing you more and more. That's a big driver, and it has nothing to do with wishlist. I mean, you get in there faster when you have more wishlists and all this. And that's why it doesn't matter. Once you get to about 30 to 100,000, it's diminishing returns. You've made enough. And at this point, Valve's like, they push you as hard as you can. As soon as you get that pop-up, there really isn't more that Valve can do. Like, you have been in all the top spots. It's like you've got first prize. You're sitting on the top of the podium. It's not like there's a ladder with another podium on top of that or something. You're maxed out. And then it's just between you and God whether you're going to do well. Because then it's like, Valve's like, we've given you everything. We've shown you everywhere. There's no more places to go. Yeah. And then at that point, it's like, does your game have legs? Do people keep playing it? Do they keep recommending it? It's then out into the public. It's like, do people recommend it? Do streamers keep playing it? Do they keep replaying it? And that's why it doesn't matter that much between 30,000 and 100,000. Yes, the difference between a 30,000 wishlist game and a 100,000 wishlist game is that pop-up, but it's not that much better. Okay, Valve will not give you a pop-up for 30,000 wishlists. They just won't. It's so discouraging. It's so discouraging because at the end of the day, it's like, you just got to make a good game. You know? That's what I tell people. They're like, how do I market my game? It's like, okay, well, don't make a bad one. That's the first thing. And just don't. Everybody watching this, if you were thinking of making a bad game, click the thing in Unity that says bad game. Unclick that. There's a checkbox in Unity. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's like on this third tab
right there.
It says good game or bad game. Uncheck bad game. Just uncheck it. Okay, it's a little secret. They don't tell you this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to pay me a lot of consulting dollars before I tell you about it. There's a little checkbox. Unclick bad game.
Some people might say that's actually just Unity. There is no uncheck bad game. It's only Unreal is the good game, and then Unity is bad game. That's what a lot of people are saying these days.
I don't know.
You know, it's kind of like I was thinking about a metaphor to try and fully understand what you're saying about why wish lists have this diminishing returns. Is it something like a big lighter versus a small lighter trying to like light a campfire? It's like what matters is like how you set up the campfire and the kindling. You need that lighter, which is some wish lists, right? And a good marketing plan. But you can have the world's biggest lighter with a ton of fuel in it. If you have crappy kindling and it's wet, you're going to keep trying to light it, and you might get it to light every once in a while and make some money, but that's it. Is that a good metaphor?
That is an excellent metaphor. I've not heard of that metaphor, but it is excellent. Yeah, your wish list count is the difference between once you get 30,000, it's like a Bic lighter. Like it's good. Yep. It gets the job done. You've got that 100,000, which is like one of those butane torches, you like click it and it's a torch. Like it's going to light the fuse. It will light the fuse. But it is up to that pile of kindling, which is your game. That's not marketing. That is your game. Right. That pile of wood and the kindling, and whether you structured it right so that you got the little fibers that light the bigger logs, it's all down to that. Mm-hmm. That initial spark. You know, if you have under 10,000, you're just like rubbing your hands together to try and start the fire. It's basically not going to happen.
So before we move into how we get to 30,000, and we'll make it 30,000, so that'll make it easier for us. Before we get into that, why then should we get 30,000? Like, just to fully clarify the importance of the Beak lighter, is it really worth a developer's time to go through your material, go through my material, and learn how to market their game prior to launch? Is it that important?
Yeah, it is, because Steam has been built to smother AI slop games, my first game, all that stuff. And the way Valve has done those is they know like, oh, well, if it's my first game, if I'm doing this as a school project, I don't know how to market. So Valve raises the minimum step to start marketing at a certain level. And that's just to filter out the slop. Okay. And the very, very minimum is 10,000 wishlist, 7,000, 10,000. I've even seen 5,000. That kind of range that's what it minimum takes to get into popular upcoming. And then to get there is that popular upcoming takes about 5,000 to 7,000. You'll know if you have it if you go to SteamDB and you have something called a wishlist rank on SteamDB. That just means if you're in that, if you got what's called a wishlist rank, it just says number whatever out of whatever. Doesn't matter how big it is. You're going to probably get on popular upcoming. It depends on how many games you're launching with.
Really?
That's the minimum bar. And Valve just does that so that you rise above the AI slop, my first game hobbyists. Okay.
So what am I looking for here on SteamDB? And I'll put this as
look at your game and then scroll down to, there's one called charts. And then you scroll down, there'll be this little box and it says how many followers you have. Yep. And then right under followers, it says number blank in games. I know you have it for your game.
I would think so. Oh, wait, no, it's not there anymore. It's different. So it's now, I can actually share my screen here so you can see it. And I love SteamDB.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, okay, so it's not here, charts. It's right here.
Yep. Yeah. See where it says number 4, what is it, 12?
Yeah.
That means you've got it. You're going to appear in popular upcoming. Now, that's obvious for you, but if you don't have, if you're checking at home, everybody at home, and it just says follower count, but there's no number right. You're not there yet. You got to work a little bit harder. So you do have to get that minimum playing field. And we can debate whether that's right or not, but that's Valve's minimum way of keeping the AI slop at bay. Okay. Now the 30,000. See, after this, you want to get to new and trending because you do popular upcoming, and then once you launch, if you sell, and I don't know the number, and again, it depends on how many other games are launching next to you, but in general, I've seen games that they sell about $8,000 worth of their game within the first 24, 48 hours. If you sell 8,000-ish, it's not specific. None of this stuff on Steam is specific. It's like kind of based on the other games compared. You get into this new thing called new and trending. That's the next thing. And that is tricky to get $8,000 worth in a short period of time. So you need that buffer space. You need a bunch of people who are going to buy it on day one. And that's what having more Wishlists does.
Got it.
Is it gets you in there. And a lot of publishers say, oh, we want 30,000 Wishlists. That's kind of the publisher's secret goal. I've talked to a lot of publishers. There's no magic Steam algorithm for that. It's just that at 30,000, whether your conversion rate is 1%, which I've seen, 5%, 10%, 15, 20, anywhere in that range, somebody at home do the calculations, anywhere in that range, you're probably going to get around $8,000 when you convert that many, depending on your range, because publishers know like, oh, games convert at different amounts. Okay.
Right.
And so the higher your wishlist count going into it, the better chances you're going to show up in the new and trending. And then you're in the new and trending. And then you get a lot of visibility from that. And then you're getting into other things at the same time. And so basically getting more wish lists is more like an insurance policy. It's like the more wish lists I have, the more likely, even if I have a weaker conversion rate, I'm still going to hit those kind of numbers to keep me on the right track. That's why you collect wish lists. But after that, after new and trending, after your pop-up, it's kind of, again, that's where I say it's like, you did the best you can, and then it's up to you and God. Like whatever happens there from there on out, it's like, do streamers keep playing your game? Do people keep telling their friends? And again, that 30,000 wishlist thing is kind of like you're collecting more friends who could tell their friends, and it starts the dominoes. Yes. Okay. And so that's why 30,000 is kind of that thing, that number that a lot of publishers will say to you. There's nothing in the Steam algorithm that says, if you have 30,000 wishlists, this happens. It's just more likely to have good stuff happen.
It's probably just their experience with launching games. They probably just found that to be, and that's the number I used to shoot for. In my head, though, to be completely honest with everybody, my goal is to do a $2 million game. So that might be why I'm aiming for 100 to 200,000 wish lists, because like I want to shoot for the moon this time. Whereas with my previous games, they supported my family. They brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I launched with I think 25,000 with Neversong. Now Neversong didn't blow up on Steam, but it did really well in Apple Arcade, so that's not really a good comparison. But I could go to Pinstripe here. Pinstripe, I launched with 7,000 wish lists, but again, probably a decade ago.
Yep, different game. Different game you're playing.
Yes. But that game did hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, I think you're right. I think people might overvalue wish lists. But anyway, let's aim for 30,000. Now, how do we get there as a nobody? What's the plan here?
Okay, what you want to do is just kind of two routes. If your game is beautiful, looks great, put together, start tweeting it out. Okay? Just start tweeting out images, and you're just trying to see, do people pick it up? And it has to look really good. Not all games do this, but if your game looks good, if you're trying to be a beautiful game, like you're like, I'm an artist, I used to be a AAA artist, and I'm really good at art, and this is our specialty. You tweet out those images and put it on TikTok or YouTube. And what I mean by YouTube is just like, here's a clip of me working with this water shader, and you see if it takes off. And sometimes it just does. Okay. And then you've got kind of some knowledge that something's good happening here. Okay. Right. Then what I would do is don't launch your Steam page yet, but make an awesome trailer. And then here's the first thing is I would go for the big shows like PC Gaming Show, which happens in June, and there's one in December, I think. There's Jeff Keighley's show, which is in June. There's one coming up. You have to do this months in advance. You can't do it now. It's too late now. Because their show is already booked. Like they know everything that's going to be said. All the trailers are done. We're talking like February timeframe. You got to do like 4 months before. But if you've got a pretty game and the concept is neat, like you went viral on social media. And what I mean by viral on social media is like you got 1,000 retweets or something.
Yep.
Whatever. Something went crazy. Because I've had people go like, I think we went viral on Twitter. And then I'm like, well, how'd you do? And they're like, we got 50 likes. We went viral. And I'm like, good. I'm proud of you. You did good. But that's not, I'm talking like 1,000 retweets. It comes out of the woodwork. You get into that show. You have your Steam page. You say you're going to get you reach out to Jeff Keighley and all these people, and you say, we're going to be announcing our game. This will be the first world premiere. You make an awesome trailer, and it has to be a good trailer. Okay. You take that awesome trailer, you get it. And if your game as that viral, and you would also say like, we went viral. We got 100 million views on TikTok or whatever it is, it's got to be big. You go to them and you say, this is all the stuff we did. And they're like, we like you. If you're really cool, it can be free. they'll do it for free because they always leave a couple spots for these really cool indie games, and they'll just give you for free.
Yep.
If you don't get it for free, you have to pay like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to these. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but okay. So that's why you have to be viral, awesome, looking good. You got in there, and that's a good kickstart. And what they'll do is you'll be in the show. And I recommend everybody watch the next one, the Jeff Keighley show. Game, I think it's called Next or something like that. Whatever it's called. It's like just search Jeff Keighley's summer program, Summerfest. I think it's called Summerfest.
Let me see, Summerfest.
PC gaming show. Watch both of those. Just look at
Summer
the quality
Game
of the
Fest.
trailers. Look at those games. They're looking great. Okay.
Yep.
That's what you're trying to do, just to see that sense. That's a good kickstart, and everything just kind of tumbles from there. Because after that show premieres, there will be TikTok people talking about your game. There'll be like streamers. All this stuff happens. And what you do is now your page is live. You're getting those can bring in like 30 to 40,000 wish lists right there, just appearing on that show. And then from there, you just start applying to all these shows. And if you go to howtomarketagame.com/festivals, you're at this quality where people will just put you in their shows, and you apply howtomarketagame.com/festivals. We curate this. It's a list of shows and festivals. You apply. If you're that quality, that good, you just apply and they let you in. They're like, here it is. Come on in. You're good. Come on in. And
so do you need a demo with these festivals? Do you need a demo live on Steam?
Sometimes not. Sometimes you're so pretty. They're like, you know what? You don't even have a demo. Just come on in. We're going to feature you. Just a trailer in your Steam page. We'll feature you, but you look cool. And what you do is you apply. Like, we're in Jeff Keighley's show. We got most viral tweet of the day, like all this stuff. That's not a thing. I just mean like, look at how viral our tweet went. That's not like there's some site that's like viral tweet of the day. No, I just mean like you had a really viral presence, all that stuff. And you just coast your way to victory. And you could do a demo for Next Fest, but it depends if you want to. I think you should do a demo just because, like what we were talking earlier, those could be fake. Like your game could look beautiful, but your game's not fun, and a demo will blow away the king's clothes. The king's not wearing any clothes or anything. That's what a demo will do for you, is be like, you ain't got nothing here. There's not, like your game looks pretty, but your game's not fun. That can happen. And so you can get to the 30 to 40,000. You could get to 100,000 just living off trailers and video clips and screenshots. Yeah. But your sales will evaporate if your game is not fun to play. It could be like, man, the controls are janky. These are terrible controls. That can happen. Totally happen.
Well, I've heard you say, Chris, that people should keep their demo reviews public, which I did that on accident. And I woke up the next morning when I launched the Twisted Tower demo, and I think I was sitting at like 83% or something, which was really disappointing to me. I was hoping for like 92. And it was terrifying because I was like, I didn't know you could have reviews for demos, but you can. It's by default public. And most people are turning them off. But I kept them on, and eventually it went up to 90%. But it was so valuable to me because I read the negative reviews, and even though they're painful to read, they tell you they pretty much just roadmap for you. Here's how you get your game to be awesome when you launch it. So definitely keep those open, even though it's scary.
What happens is when you, I don't know if you remember, but when you first create the demo, there's a button on there now on Steam. You say, create the demo. And there's a little pop-up that says, do you want to do a separate demo page, or do you just want to put your demo on your main page? And when you do separate page, that's where the demos demo reviews come in. And I agree. Steam shoppers are very savvy. Like this, Steam is hardcore audience. They know games. They've played more games than you have. They know the genre. They know all the tropes, and they will be very honest with you. And I always recommend keep those reviews up because it's honest. So, I mean, it sounds like too, I've listened to your podcast, Thomas, and you're kind of like, what do I do with Twisted Tower? Or is it those reviews that kind of brought you back to reality or something, or what?
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks for asking. I think that when we ran into budget issues last year with my publisher, and I've said this 1,000 times, but the budget was cut for the game. I got really insecure about the whole thing. I was like, what's going on? Like, and it was just 2024 sucked, basically for studios. So they were just like, look, we got to cut the budget. But what I thought was, I was like, I'm just making a indie Bioshock. So like, it's nothing new. And so you hear all the time, you got to make something new. It's got to be fresh. It's got to be really special. And when I launched the demo, what I heard people saying was, and this was to my surprise, and this hopefully helps people right now who are kind of making a reskin of a game. What I found was there is an audience for that. There is actually an audience on Steam for people who are like, no, I want to play a Bioshock indie game. I'm totally fine with this feeling like a light version of Bioshock because I just like that stuff. That's like saying there isn't a market for Little Caesars pizza. It's like, no, like there's plenty of people who want to spend $5 on a Little Caesars pizza, you know? And so I was really encouraged by the reviews of the demo because it told me that my initial gut feeling of it's okay to make a story-driven immersive sim that's harkens back to 2008. It's totally fine to do that. And my gut was correct, at least in the demo. So I'm really encouraged by that. And I think I just lost sight of it because I got so obsessed with creating frameworks as to how to create a great game. And you know this feeling of like, you try and put together a framework of like how to explain what makes a game work. And I thought that great games were just solely hook driven. And I'm like, not necessarily. It could also just be an execution of a previous genre that just works.
Oh, I totally agree. I think indies have gotten hook mania too much.
Yes.
Like they think every game has to be the most crazy original thing. And I think another thing that I think is a real problem that somehow indies got this lesson is genre mixing where they're like, it's this and this. And they're like, that is very hard because when you do the this plus this, like, oh man, it's a rhythm game mixed with a horror game, mixed with dating sim, mixed with, a farming sim, mixed. And you're just like, whoa. That is, nobody wants to hear that. And like sometimes when you say that stuff on social media, people go, oh yeah, that's so funny. And they like it and they retweet and they're like, man, it's such a good, funny idea. That's so funny. And then it kind of goes crazy and people are like, oh, we're on a good idea. But then when it launches, people are like, what? I don't like any of these games. I like one of these games. And so I think both social media's prominence in marketing, which is recent, folks, people used to be able to market stuff before there was social media. When social media kind of could make these games go viral, that kind of warped people's brains to think, oh, it has to be the most hooky, craziest viral idea. It's not. It's you can find these needs. And I think it's actually better to stick to a genre. I always write about this, like stick to a genre, hit the genre tropes right dead in the eye. That's right. I think that's better than trying to be crazy and mixing up stuff.
That's what Thomas Mahler, the creator of Ori and the Blind Forest, I had him on. And he agrees with you. It's just like, he said in a really thick Arnold Schwarzenegger German accent, he said he doesn't care. His goal is pushing a genre forward. So like very, very similar to what you said, which is hit the genre and don't execute on it perfectly, execute on it better than other games in that genre. It doesn't mean you throw a twist in there. Although, look, a hook is valuable and it helps market the thing. At the end of the day, though, it's like, look, if you're passionate about Metroidvania games, just make the best one out there. I think it's that simple. So yeah, that's where my head is.
No, that's good insight. So I don't know. So okay, so we go back to how you get 100,000 wish lists. So
so basically, you said like a big, huge. Just to recap here, climb on a giant's shoulders. That was one of the ways, right?
Yep.
Which is Jeff Keighley, and poor guy, he's going to get a ton of emails.
But here's the thing, folks. Like before you go try and find Jeff Keighley, did you tweet about the game and did it go viral? If it did, maybe. And again, it can't be like, oh, we went viral, we got 50 likes. No, it's got to be like so crazy. Maybe somebody wrote an article about you. They're like, sometimes like Kotaku or one of these sites will be like, oh, look at this crazy game. And it's just like a GIF they posted.
It's a literal tweet. Yeah, they'll do that sometimes. Okay, but that's not all games. In fact, that's a very slim portion. If that didn't happen, and most games don't, because most games aren't that visually amazing, you got to go with the demo. So if you tried it, you tweeted about the game and everything happened, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. What I would do is announce your game, get a trailer, try and get into, this is if your game's not super pretty, trying to get, you can reach out to IGN with a trailer, still make a trailer, still hold back your Steam page, but reach out to IGN with a really good trailer of gameplay.
get them to see if they'll post it. They'll either put it on their main channel or game trailers, which is their kind of like subsidiary smaller one. That can do pretty good. You can sometimes get like 5,000 to 6,000 wishlists off that. And that's just a good start. And really what you're trying to do are these big things. I see too many indies that are like, I tweet and I tweet and I tweet and I post on Reddit every month and I don't get anywhere. It's like, it's not going to happen brick by brick. It happens in giant moments. And those big moments are like the announce of your game. And then the next one is the launch of your demo. So even if your game's not pretty, like you're like a programmer, you're like, Chris, I'm a programmer. I am terrible at art. I'm using Sentry low poly art. That's what it's called, like Sentry. Like I've got low poly art. Okay, that's okay. Sentry art is all right. It's getting a little long in the tooth. I think people are getting a little caught on to Sentry, but that's still okay. If you're that case, you can now launch the demo. And this is what I recommend. Is just get that demo out. And actually, I actually just wrote, I've done a 3-part series just on itch.io. I would say, if you're not an artist, but you've got a deep game, really fun, systematic, fun to play game, for free, in its current state, put it on itch.io and see what happens. I have seen a number of games go viral, and I'll tell you what viral means on itch. Like if you post on itch and then some streamer finds your demo and it gets like, you don't even have a Steam page and it just gets like a spike of like 1,000 views to your page, or you got like 25,000 lifetime views in a short period of time. That's a good sign. That's the equivalent of going viral on Twitter, but because your game's fun to play, not good looking.
Got it.
You can actually, that's a good sign that something good is happening. You could just polish up that demo, put it out on Steam, and then you just reach out to streamers. And you just keep reaching out to streamers and you apply for festivals. That's how you do it. And it's these big moments. It's like this streamer played us and then our wishlist count went crazy. It happens in leaps. It doesn't happen brick by brick.
Well, let me, if you don't mind, can I confirm what you're saying here?
Yeah.
So this is Twisted Tower.
There you are.
This is Thomas devlog, tweet. So we're looking at what? We've got almost 1,000 followers here, which is probably the equivalent of like 20,000 or 15,000 wish lists or something.
Yep.
Then this was a what? Event. Boom. So you're right. So that brought us to around 20,000 wish lists. Tweet, devlog. And like, I think people will recognize here, it's not that this isn't valuable. It's just like, be okay with it being very slow. Like, you know, I got an additional 1,000 over the course of 8 months of tweeting, and I have a big following, you know?
I know. Yeah.
So
that's why
it's tough.
People always say that, like, but I have no following. You never need a following. Like, don't start a YouTube channel to market your game. Do not. It is too much work, folks.
Right. And a lot of people probably, they wonder, well, why does Thomas do YouTube, or why does Chris do YouTube? It's like, well, we sell educational material.
YouTube sucks. I don't do YouTube.
I do YouTube, and this is an educational channel. I don't sell my games here, you know? So anyway, the revenue model is not games for my channel. But anyway, so if we look right here, what's this? Boom, demo, right? Yep. And so that was the
big launch of your demo, right?
Launch of the demo, and then Next Fest was like right here. So I actually launched the demo 2 weeks prior to Next Fest, which was frowned on, but it actually worked.
Thomas, you have a good looking game. Like, I think your game is equivalent to that. If Thomas still even saw the launch of his demo was his biggest moment, that everybody else should be doing this. Like, even if your game's not good looking. And I've seen a spike like that from other games. Like if you look at a Balatro or something, that game is not like, if you showed a screenshot of Balatro and you didn't know what it was, you're like, this is some kid's poker game. You know, it's like, but I
don't know, man. I've heard several people say that it's kind of a divisive conversation about the look. I actually love the look. I think it's really edgy and colorful. I'm not sure if that's what you're saying, but some people don't like how it looks.
But if you were out of context, just looked at a picture of Balatro, it would not be there. Now, it's hard to see with that because Balatro is so big that it has warped the graph. So if you can filter SteamDB down to just pre-launch,
let's see here.
The graph will look much more. It's just that there'll be a tiny 1 pixel
jump.
How
can you do that? Let's see here.
I don't know if SteamDB can do that. Is there an
I think it says the launch is February 20th, 2024. So this is right here. Okay. So this was launch. February 19th. Yep. So that's launch. Literally, this guy, he had 9,000 followers, which is good. Like that's like 170, 60,000 wish lists. Yeah, that's like 100,000 wish lists. And so like you can imagine what this guy's day was like, or like weeks, where he's like, he probably went into this thinking maybe we'll make some money. Like maybe we'll make like 300 grand, which it sounds like a lot to people, but like once it's all said and done, you spend it in 2 years and then you're done. So this guy though, he probably had the greatest, I mean, he's still having the greatest year of his life.
This is like interviewing Ken Levine. You're not going to have a Balatro. You cannot predict having a Balatro. Just hope to get 30 to 100,000. This is where I said, it's like, this is up to God. At that point, once you get to the level of Balatro, it's a magic thing. You can't even predict that. You can't plan for that. There's nothing you can do for that. Okay. That's right. I want everybody to know, like, that's why I always look at my favorite examples that I look for are people who make like, you just barely get into real Steam is what we talk about. It's just like, I look for those because you should aim for that. Mm-hmm. You can't predict the Balatros or the Pal Worlds or the Wukong whatevers. You plan for like just a nice base hit and hope that you get a home run.
I think that's great. I love the way you're thinking there. And I'm really fascinated by this game called Blueprints. I don't know if you've heard about Blueprints. But
I know Blueprints. Yeah.
You know, look at the followers, around 100,000 wish lists, basically. We're at 6,000 followers. But I wonder what this was here. It was probably some event, you know, or maybe the demo launch. I don't know. But
I haven't dug into Blueprints and where they came from. I heard an interview with the developer. I can't remember where, but
boom, that's crazy. Just went skyrocketed. But another thing to note here, sorry to derail you here, but one of the things that people always forget, including myself, you're always aiming for the wish lists for a launch. But what you don't realize is the moment you launch, you get this huge burst of more wish lists. Right? Assuming it goes well.
Yeah, you do.
So that's what happened here.
Yep. And the other thing to know, folks, is that when you launch, you get about 3 times the daily traffic than you did pre-launch. Just visits. Because Valve will always, even if your game didn't sell well, will always show you more post-launch because they know that they're going to get some money. Like when Valve shows your game pre-launch, that's valuable real estate they're giving to somebody who might not even finish the game. So Valve always reduces the amount of visibility you get until you go on sale. Just keep that in mind.
All right. So you were talking about demo and how valuable that is and how it's all done in bursts. Can you speak to like demo launch and how to launch a demo, like when and how long it should be and what to expect?
Yeah, and here's the thing, folks. And people are always like, "Oh, marketing changes all the time. The algorithm's going crazy. It's all different. Everything's different. Every day is different." No, it's not. Like, slow down. Slow down, everybody. Everybody thinks genre changes. Everybody thinks like the genres change like every month or the algorithm changes. It doesn't change that much, folks. Like, I first found out about festivals and demos and launching a demo to get streamers basically in 2019. Like, it wasn't until the pandemic that we really figured out this thing. Yeah. So for the 5 years, my advice has been the same. Get that demo out, and launch it. For most folks, even though I talked about pretty games, for most people, they're going to get their visibility from launching a demo. And that has not changed since 2019. So marketing doesn't actually change that much. People think it
hasn't changed since the 90s though, Chris, because this was how they did it in the 90s. They had CDs and magazines and it was demos,
and
then you bought,
and they didn't have fests. Right. I mean, I guess getting into a festival is the equivalent of getting on one of those CD packs or something. Yes. Getting into a festival is like getting the front page of PC Gamer when there would be a thing.
But trials, like letting people try things, that is an age-old marketing tactic. Give them a taste, and if they like it, they'll buy it. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, and so really, folks, it has not changed that much. I think it feels like it changed because you didn't know how marketing worked, and then you learned how marketing worked, and you're like, they changed. The person who's learning how to do something changed, and so it's changing all the time. I thought it was Twitter. I thought Twitter used to be the thing. No, it was like you used to think that, and it's like, you just learned. You learned something. So You changed internally. It's not the world changed it. That's a different psychological thing we could work on later. But anyway, so here's the deal. What you do is, I can't remember where we're going.
Well, we're going with, we're talking about demos, okay? So specifically...
Launching your demo. Launching the
demo, like when to do it, how to do it, how long should the game be, what to expect, all that stuff.
Yeah, so this slightly changed, okay? I used to say, when you made your demo, just throw it up there. Push the launch demo button and throw it up there. This has changed a little bit. Valve, so many people are launching the demo and they do this thing called the prologue trick. Don't ask it. The prologue trick really, it still works, but I have a feeling it's going away. But people do these weird hack things to launch a demo. And Valve was like, actually, anytime somebody does these like behind the scenes kind of hacks to Steam, Valve goes, oh, well, that actually does work. We'll just make it legitimate. And so what Valve does is legitimize things that people used to be doing as a hack. And so the prologue trick was basically a hack. And so Valve made it a legitimate thing. And that's basically when you launch your demo, if you get enough, well, you could push a button now and everybody who wishlisted your game pre-demo gets an email that says a demo has launched for a game. That's awesome. That's like a wishlist firing before you go and sell, which is huge. That's new. So the main change is you got to be very careful with the launch of your demo. Don't just launch it because you're like, it's done, I'm just going to launch it, boom.
Right.
You have to be strategic about the launch of your demo.
That's right.
And here's the big change. Demos can now chart on the front page of Steam. So if you go on the front page of Steam and you click this tab, you scroll down a little bit, like halfway down the page, there's a thing, it's like new and trending pop-up coming. There's a tab on the end called popular, free, new and trending free. I think it's called new and trending free. Click that. Look. Your demo could show up there and you get a lot of visibility from that. But you have to get, in my kind of rough numbers, is you get about 90 concurrent players. We're still trying to figure out how much it takes to get on there. And it depends on how many other games are launching their demo with you because it's ranked. My bet is that's like 90 concurrent players, and that's a pretty good chance to get on there. Now, this is where you should be gathering wish lists ahead of time. And I said the best way to get wish lists is to launch a demo, but you need wish lists to trigger so that people get onto new and trending. You see how it's chicken and egg? What you do now is you do play tests, because you could do a play test, get a streamer to play your play test, get people to play it, wish list your game, gather a bunch of wish lists. I don't know how, don't ask me. And then how many you need. Then you launch your demo. Hopefully you get enough people. You get onto new and trending free.
Wait.
You also should line up streamers so they play your demo when you launch it. You got to do a marketing beat. And now you make a big, big event out of launching your demo. And
let's clarify really quick, just to make sure, because I want people to be fully clear here or fully understand you. You're saying that there's a pre-demo, which is basically that testing. You could do a test.
Play test.
It's a public play test. Now, will that potentially hurt the demo because it's effectively a public demo and you're going to cannibalize the potential impact of a demo? No.
In for the most part, and this is a thing that a lot of people get wrong about Steam. They're like, they're very cautious about, like, they're thinking, if I do this, there's no backseas. Like, people will know about my game. It's the same fear that people always have where they're like, should I talk about my game because somebody could steal my idea? Somebody could steal my idea. That is the same mentality of, should I put my demo out because then people will play it and then they won't want my game anymore. It's the same mentality. Folks, you do not realize how big Steam is. Steam is infinitely large. Okay, you could have the #1 game on Steam. You could be like Blueprints, and you could go to a random person who's a gamer on the street, just be like, "Have you heard of Blueprints?" And they'd be like, Are you saying Blueprints or Blueprints? What are you saying?" And they're like, "It's Blueprints. It's the biggest game on Steam." I've found games. I do deep scrapes. I found a game that's popular, and I'm like, "What is this game?" And then I dig down, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like the most popular game." It is infinitely large, the player base, so you cannot show your game off too much. It is impossible at our scale to show off your game too much. And so you should do the playtest. And yes, the people who play your playtest will be like, I know about it. I don't need to play the demo. But it doesn't matter because those people then feed the next round of those people. You're always trading up your audience. And it's not, you cannot, people always be like, we're going to tire out our audience. gamers will get tired of hearing me. No, when you do anything, like you were talking about those jumps and it is infinitely large. Infinitely. There are 39 million people on Steam right now just with the browser open, with the Steam browser. 39 million. You people do not understand how big Steam is. And so you can never exhaust that audience. You have to change your brain, everybody. Change your brain to start
Unless I think about AI and I think about, I've heard your talks about scraping up the drudge from the ocean of Steam. If the algorithm somehow changes and it just starts pulling up all this crap and promoting that, I think we have a problem where like you can get, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is we do rely heavily on Steam promoting things properly, right? And so I don't know, I worry that yes, the ocean of Steam is massive, but I do sometimes worry about like the audience that Steam will give me, that sliver. I don't want to cannibalize that. Is that is that a reasonable fear?
No, and that's the whole thing that Steam's doing. That's why they do the new and trending free, is they're like trying to introduce it to a new thing. And then you'll also show up in things like Discovery Queue, when Discovery Queue is specific to show you to new people who have never heard of you. It is like, and that's the thing, is Steam wants your game to be a hit. That's the thing, is like they make money. People have an adversarial relationship. They're like, but what does Steam change the algorithm? They want you to sell your video game. Like they want you to do well. And so that's the thing, is like the play test, if you do well and it feels good, like you're getting more wish lists, and Valve's like, you got something here, kid. Let's spice it up. Let's keep going. So Got it. I just don't like. Remember motivations. Like you said, oh no, they might dredge up the AI. Why would Valve do that? Because they've worked so hard to suppress the AI slop. Why would they all of a sudden like, let's just for fun, just turn on the AI slop? Why would they do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah, and it makes me think about, just as a side note here, how I've been, dude, to be completely honest, I've been paranoid for the last 2 years about AI games and AI sort of taking over Steam, and I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't benefit, like you're saying, it doesn't benefit Steam at all to showcase games that feel tired and boring and like AI slop games. They're going to, just purely because of capitalism, they're going to promote great games. And so at the end of the day, just make a great game, right?
Valve has already figured out the AI slop thing. Like they solved
Have
this.
they really?
Yeah, they've already solved it like in 2019. Like that was when they really instituted the like you need 7,000 wish list to get into the new and trending and all this popular upcoming stuff. Like but they weren't doing AI slop. They were just thousands of people were just making these cheap games and throwing them up on Steam. So Valve solved that problem. They didn't even have to really change the algorithm. That's why it was like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they put out a message. They're like, yeah, you guys can put AI games. We don't care. Because I think what they were doing was like, let's just see if we can hold down the slop. And they could, because if you're doing, let's pretend you could just type in Steam, make me a Bioshock clone in ChatGPT or something. And all of a sudden a whole Bioshock clone shot out. And then you upload it, and then every day you just uploaded a new Bioshock that was generated by AI. Valve has made the algorithm so you need 7,000 wish lists minimum, and you cannot get 7,000 wish lists in a day. So automatically you are going to get shoveled down into the depths. Even if your game, even if ChatGPT was awesome, like it was like Bioshock, whatever, they 4 or something. Even if they could do that, you would have to spend that time working with influencers, getting into festivals with your AI slop game.
Got it.
And you would have to do that. So
there's a human
Valve has
gate.
already figured it out.
That's
Valve
right.
stopped it already.
There is a human gate that you have to pass through, which is, in order to get wish lists, you tend to, typically you need YouTubers and the Jeff Keighley's of the world and people to work with you to promote it, right? People promote the game. And so you can't do that with an AI game because they'll see it and they'll know, but this is crap. This is
what Valve did. And people always say, I wish Steam were curated. Folks, it's just not how you envisioned curation. Okay.
Got it.
They want me like mommy or something, like Steam is mommy, and they want us to upload it. And then Steam goes, no, you're not cured. No, what Valve did was it's a little, you don't know it. And this is why you have to study and listen to me, everybody. Like, this is why you have to read into this stuff.
Yeah.
It's curated. It's just been outsourced and it's a little bit hidden. And so Jeff Keighley is a Steam curation layer, and so but it's a two-step process. Like, the number of wish lists that Valve requires to get you on the front page can only be generated by somebody like Jeff Keighley or by some streamer playing your game on Steam. And so Valve doesn't say this explicitly, but it's true. You just have to go to these curators. That's what I was saying, is like, it happens, folks, it happens in giant jumps. It doesn't happen with you tweeting every day and you posting on Reddit every day. It happens in huge jumps when you get a curator like a Jeff Keighley or some streamer or some festival to feature you. Yeah. That gets you there. And that's how you do it. And to get Jeff Keighley to play, he's not going to play AI slop. He's not. He's going to be like, this is slop. So it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed.
It might feel unfair to people. Like, a lot of people might think, well, that's gatekeeping. And like, I'm thrilled that the press isn't as relevant as they used to be. That's nice. Cause like, dude, GameSpot destroyed Pinstripe for no reason. They gave it a 5 out of 10 for no reason. Was it GameSpot or GameStop? I don't even remember. But it's whatever the press, the magazine is. They destroyed that game. And it's like, just because one writer who worked with them didn't like it, he got to give it a 5 out of 10. It's ridiculous. So it's nice to know, like, on one hand, it's nice to know that gatekeeping on the press side has been pushed down. However, what you're saying is like, yeah, but that gatekeeping is kind of nice because they kind of filter out automatically the AI slop, right?
Yeah, basically, and this is what happened was, it used to be like, you either had, there were like 4 press outlets, and if you didn't do well with those 4, that was it. Basically, it's thousands of them, and it's a positive thing. Like, you could fail with one streamer, and streamer's like, this game sucks, but if there's 3 others that this is yours is like the perfect game for them, they can still promote it. You know, there's niches within niches. There's like wholesome games. Like, if you're making a wholesome game, that whole community is amazing if you're that type of game. But you would get totally slammed if you were making a wholesome game and you upload it to some like shooter streamer who only likes shooter games. He would destroy your game.
Exactly.
And so that's what it is like, there's just thousands of little curators out there. And that's why Valve stepped back, and they're like, we don't know. We have no idea. All we know is when a curator sends this much traffic, that's a good sign. And so they let that happen. And then they're like, the wish list is the quantifier of how much momentum came from this outside source, whether it's Jeff Keighley or a streamer or Wholesome Games Fest. That's all they know. They're like, well, I don't know, it just came in.
What's so interesting about all of this is that the YouTube algorithm, or like social media algorithms, I think they behave a lot differently. Because, for example, with YouTube, in order to get a video to pop off, no matter how much outside traffic I push into a YouTube video, the YouTube algorithm does not care. It wants it to be organic. It wants it to happen naturally, and it wants it to basically happen on the Browse tab. But what you're saying is that Steam, it's like the opposite almost. I mean, at least during the impetus of a game's like launch, it wants to see that outside traffic to basically prove to Steam that it's not crap.
Well,
right?
Okay, here's where it gets tricky. Okay, so the easy thing for Valve is that it's based on money. Like money, and like, that's the thing with capitalism, it's like, that is such a unit, like $1. Yeah. And so with YouTube, there's not, I mean, I know there's subscriptions and you can tip and all that kind of stuff, but it's mainly based off of ad revenue. And so it's really hard for the YouTube algorithm to quantify. And same thing with like social media, like Twitter and stuff. You know how they always flip flop, like, a retweet counts as 2 likes, and then they'll flip it and they'll be like, a like counts more than a retweet, because they don't know. Nobody knows, like, what is engagement? YouTube's like watch hours and stuff. But it's like, if I'm doing home improvement and I just want to know, how do I tighten this nut on the sink? I'm going to fast forward and get exactly what I want, and I'm happy. But I didn't engage with this guy's content. I just zipped to the one moment where I want it. So YouTube can't quantify whether somebody liked something. But Valve can, because it's like you paid money and we are trying to make money. Everything's aligned. It's very easy. We want money. You want money. The player wants to give money to get fun. It's super simple. So the YouTube algorithm is really based on that. That's why it's not like wishlist conversion and whether you wishlisted and played or wish. No, Valve's just money. It's just money. So the algorithm is very simple. And that's why when I said to you, we don't know conversion rate. We don't know if your 100,000 wishlist will convert at 1%, 5%, 10, 20, 30. It just comes down to money. If when you launch your game, you make a lot of money, Valve's like, that's all we care about. We don't care if you started with one wish list and 100% converted, and that as long as you make us money, if you charge $1,000 per copy of your game and it makes money, good on you. We don't care. We will promote that. They just care about money. It's not conversions or wish list conversions or time played. Just money. It's so dead simple.
Okay. So in order to get that 30,000, we've got two options. Number one, or two and or. Okay. You could do both or one if one doesn't work. One of them is stand on the shoulders of giants. That could be streamers, by the way. I don't think you mentioned that, but streamers, YouTubers, getting them to play your game, festivals, all that stuff. Number two, launch a Steam demo. Now, the question I want to ask is, you said it was hard to, I'm trying to parse it. So you said it's better to just, what did you say? You said people overanalyze when to launch stuff because the Steam ocean is so big. However, it does matter when you launch your demo, right? That does matter.
A little bit. And I think this is what always frustrates me. People like the genre and the type of game you make is the most important thing. It's the most important. It determines 90%. I got to be careful how I say it because somebody else did it. Like 90% of your success is going to be determined the moment you say this is the type of game we're going to make and it's going to look like this. That like determines everything. Okay. The last 10% is like tactics of what you do. Okay. But the problem is people go into what type of game they're making on the fastest win. They're just like, I don't know. I just feel it. I'm just going to make this game. They just like choose like at random, like they're throwing darts with game. They're like, oh, somebody laughed on Twitter when I said this, so I'm going to make it. It's like, no. Think about it. Think about this. They just like randomly pick which game they're going to make. And I'm like, God, spend a couple weeks thinking about what game you're going to make next. But when it comes time to do things like, when do we launch our demo? They turn into like Albert Einstein, like calculating the curvature of the earth. And like, they're trying to like way overanalyze. It was like, I wish all this brain power was determined when you were picking which game to make. And it really doesn't, folks. If you're overanalyzing the hour, day, minute, when you need to launch your game or your demo, it doesn't matter. For most of the time, it doesn't matter. The only thing when you launch your demo that I would advise against is really the only time I'd say, don't launch it, even though it's you, don't launch your demo just before Next Fest. Because remember I said a big boost comes when you launch your demo and you get onto new and trending free. That's competitive. There's only 10 slots per day, and then the games bounce off as new games get on that list. And so everybody waits to the last minute to launch their demo before Next Fest. So that thing it's just like Memorial Day at the beach. You know, everybody's there. And so, yes, you did it, but you're. I did hit
the trending tab. So
I see, but you are. You're right. Time. You are big time. If you are no following it, which was the premise of the thing is, if you have no following, this is your first game, nothing. Wait, try and launch your demo like 2 to 3. Well, you can't do 3 months before Next Fest because they come every 3 months.
Yes.
Or every 4 months. They come every 4 months. But launch it way before Next Fest because there isn't as much competition. And again, it's not how big the competition is. It's how many people, because there's 10 slots. So even if you, with your big game, Twisted Tower, are launching, I don't mind launching at the same time as Twisted Tower because there's 10 slots. I just have to be one of the top 10.
Yeah.
But if there's 30 people launching at the same time, then I'm competing with all those other people to show up on the top 10. So it matters how many games are launching at your time, not how big the game is. And this is a common misconception that people have.
It's so confusing, Chris, and it's so frustrating because literally, I'm not even joking. My publisher said launch 2 weeks prior. I had my publisher's competitor They reached out to me privately and said, what did you just do? Why did you launch 2 weeks prior? You should have launched the day of. You made a big mistake. And then you say, do it 3 months prior. And so what I'm gathering from that is it doesn't matter.
Well, okay. Wait, whoa. Let's be careful here, though.
Yeah.
Remember, we switched. You just did it. You switched mentally. I was talking about the person with no audience.
Yep.
Nobody.
Gotcha.
You have a big publisher. You have a big YouTube channel. You've launched lots of games. You had, I don't remember how many heading into next.
I had 30,000 wish lists when we launched the demo.
You had a lot of wish lists. You had a big following. You knew you were going to hit new and trending. See, folks,
I didn't, but I appreciate that.
You have to know. And also Ken Levine, whatever Ken Levine does is different than you, than anybody else. You have to remember who you are and what your strategy is going into this stuff.
Yeah.
I actually think, okay, so one thing is with Steam Next Fest, we don't know exactly. They change the algorithm every single. This is one thing that just changed, but it's not that important. It's just one algorithm. The Next Fest algorithm does change every time. And I can't remember which one you did, but there was one where they said, we're not going to do as much about, because what people were doing is they're gaming the system. They were trying to get as many wish lists. Sometimes it was the 2 weeks, then it was the 1 week. And I think when you heard that,
that's what I was doing.
Yes, all three of those people had different theories about what the algorithm was going to do. And actually all three, it doesn't matter. All three of the people that you talked to, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 day, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because what you're trying to do is juice the algorithm so that you're the front page. If you, now I'm switching my thing. I'm talking to you, Thomas.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to somebody who has no following, nothing, launch it months in advance.
I see.
So that's why you have to know the strategy of why you had your audience already there, Thomas. I'm speaking specifically to you now.
Right.
You had your audience, so it's okay to do the strategy of launch the day of, because I know you're going to be able to convert those. And what your strategy is, I have enough going in, I can probably get into the top trending. Because when you do Next Fest, there's always a chart on the front page that says top demo, most played, most wish lists. You had a chance to be on all three of those.
Yep.
So you'd be fine. So I think it was okay. 1 day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's okay. It doesn't matter that much.
But so the recommendation for 99% of the people listening right now, and that certainly sounds cocky. I promise I'm not trying to be, but 99% of the people listening right now, they're in that situation where they don't have a following and they don't have a ton of wish lists. So what you're saying is, look, if you can't get a big slot in some festival, just launch your demo like almost immediately after the last Next Fest, right? Like it's almost like you're saying, wait for the last one to finish and then launch the demo, and then wait for your wish list numbers to tick up. This also can let you, correct me if I'm wrong here, this also lets people fix their demo so that by the time Next Fest, the next one comes up, they have a rock solid demo, right?
I always tell people, no matter who, even for you, Next Fest should not be the first time some random stranger plays your game who doesn't know you, because you don't want to find out, one, that you have a game-breaking bug when a streamer is thinking of playing your game. You want to get that out, and you also want to make sure that there's not like, oh man, the first boss is way too hard and everybody gets mad. You want to find that out way before Next Fest, because Next Fest is kind of the front page featuring, and a lot of streamers are going to try your game. And if they're like, man, the first boss is way too hard, I can't play this on stream, I'm not going to play it. You don't want that. You want to know what that is. And again, it goes back to the thing is like, you can't overexpose yourself. It's not like, oh, I gave my demo to streamers 3 months before Next Fest. That means there's no streamers left. There are so many streamers that are going to play your game. So that are capable of playing your game, that could play your game. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Dude, I understand that that panic of launching a brand spanking new IP, like a demo during Next Fest, and I put like so much energy into those first 2 weeks. It was like I got a ton of streamers to play the game. I sent out 100 emails to different streamers I wanted to play the demo. And when we launched the demo, it was wild how many bugs appeared, no matter how hard. How much dude, we did QA with like a professional QA team with Saber, which is the parent company of my publisher. We had a full-on QA team. We were in Jira, or however you say it. We had it all it was like this professional QA team. And we cleaned it up so perfectly for the launch of that demo. And literally the moment we launch, it's like one bug, and it's prominent and it's massive and it's game breaking. And I had people writing reviews, and it's really painful. I don't know if you've ever had somebody say this about you, but like saying stuff like, Thomas sells courses and teaches about game dev, but he can't even find a bug like this. You know, it was like my credibility was on the line because of this one stupid bug. Somehow I missed it, and it was terrifying because, dude, the reviews crashed. Like, it went down to 83%, and I was like, what's happening? What is happening? And it turns out it's just one little bug. But that's what, to your point, is so important. It's do it. Maybe launch that demo. If you don't have a following, launch that demo in the quiet and see what people are saying. And then when Next Fest arrives, you'll have a solid demo.
I think that's much better. And the number of people, the thousands and thousands of people, you just need that time to try it that many times before you can find out if you have bugs. It just takes a long time. It takes a lot of people. And so, yeah, launch it way in advance. Okay.
I think that's everything, right? For 30,000 Wishlists. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up here?
No, head over to howtomarketagame.com/free. Newsletter comes out every Monday, so check it out.
That link is in the description for everybody who's wondering. And by the way, just so everyone knows, I'll give you more of a shout out here. First off, please everybody do it, because that's one of the reasons Chris does podcasts. I'm sure it takes a lot of your time, and it's good to get people to click that link below. But also, I know that I read your newsletter, and also David Whaley, he gives a ton of insight to me, and then he'll be like, oh, by the way, that's what Chris said. You know, so it's not really coming from David, it's coming from Chris. So a lot of game devs follow your stuff, and it's very credible, very good stuff. So everybody, please click the link below and support Chris. But more importantly, it is supporting everybody's future, because it really does help a lot. So thanks for coming on, dude. That was so helpful. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. Also, if you're interested in optimizing your crash and error reporting workflow for development and release builds, I definitely recommend you go check out Sentry and their Unity SDK. It's really easy to get started, and you can do so completely for free by simply clicking the link in the description.